Where can Jays fans find an alternative voice to get them thinking beyond the box scores? You found it right here on the Jays from the Couch YouTube channel with unobstructed views from the On Fek Circle. We stream live to Blue Jays fans everywhere every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and you can join the conversation during the live stream by posting your questions and points of view or by leaving a comment throughout the week on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter at Fekless Wonder. This program is joined on our YouTube channel by Sunny Side of the Dome, hosted by Jays from the Couch writer and analyst Karen Suter, and she comes at you live Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Karen is the voice of the diehard Blue Jays fan, and she brings Jays news and notes to life as only a true Blue Jays fan can. All of this quality Blue Jays programming would not be possible without the Jays from the Couch radio podcast, which streams live Mondays, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on our YouTube channel, the Jays from the Couch Facebook page, and on Twitter at Jays from Couch. Senior editor and Jays from the Couch founder Shaun Doyle creates and moderates Blue Jays Talk for All with Blue Jays players, beat writers, out-of-town analysts, and fellow Couchers. Never miss our fake Blue Jays news segment. Episode number 300 is coming up next week. And in the meantime, download all 299 episodes anywhere you find your podcast. All of these fine programs stream free on demand and are brought to you by JaysFromTheCouch.com. I am your host, the madman across the border, the Fekless Wonder, Steve Fek. Thank you for tuning in for another On Fek Circle. It was a big week last week. Before we get anywhere, I've got a couple of ceremonial first pitches, and absolutely the spotlight first pitch needs to go out to all of you. All of you that watched last week's program, shared it, made comments, retweeted the feeds on social media, specifically Twitter. It was all part of the Jays from the Couch versus ALS campaign. For every tweet and comment and like, I donated $1 in your name. Okay, not on my name, in your name, people that watch the On Fek Circle, to help combat ALS and try to wipe it out in somebody's lifetime, ideally our lifetime, but in somebody's lifetime. It means more than I could ever express. It's a pet project of our founder, Shaun Doyle. It is a project that I warmly embrace. I've had a grandfather, I've had a business partner stricken and ultimately die from ALS. So just because Lou Gehrig's day in MLB is over, it doesn't mean that our campaign is over. We're going to continue to raise awareness and raise funds to help fight ALS. And as I pledged last week, every time there's a live comment during the On Fek Circle, I will donate an additional $1 for every comment during the live broadcast throughout the year in perpetuity, I guess is the word I would want to use here. My second ceremonial first pitch before we get down to the meats and potatoes of this episode. Danny Jansen is back on the IL. Zach Collins has been called up from AAA. He was hit by a pitch last night, and he's just snake bit, I guess. You know, he's finally found his form, and now he can't stay healthy. He has a break in his left hand. It is his catching hand, so it wouldn't affect his throwing. But for a catcher, you almost want your throwing hand to have the break and not your catching hand. That can be very painful and lingering throughout the season. It was a clean break, does not require surgery. So the turnaround should be relatively quick. He seems to be a pretty fast healer, but he will be out of the Blue Jays lineup for a while. No Gabriel Moreno yet. That could still be coming. But for right now, it's Alejandro Kirk getting the bulk of the calls behind the plate with Zach Collins backing him up. And our final ceremonial first pitch, congratulations to my man, Matt Gage. He made his major league debut last night in Kansas City, late in the evening for those of us on the East Coast because of the lengthy rain delay. But it's been a long, he was drafted in 2013 by the San Francisco Giants. I finally got that right. I keep saying he was drafted by the Rockies, and he was with the Giants for 5 years. He pitched in Mexico. He pitched in independent leagues. He had elbow surgery, came back. The Diamondbacks signed him, and then the Blue Jays grabbed him this offseason. He could be the secondary left-handed option. He's got good stuff. His command is much better since his surgery, which is kind of unusual. And his velocity's been an uptick. So it was great. Even made MLB Network did a little feature this morning on MLB Central program about Matt Gage's journey. We're happy to have him in the bullpen. He's certainly a better, more reliable option, even being so unproven than Ryan Baraki is. Andrew Velasquez has still not really found his command. So maybe some more seasoning once they acquire another bullpen arm, which I'm sure that Ross Atkins is trying to do. Velasquez can go back down into minors and try to work on some things. Okay, we have a new hashtag for our show going forward, and it's Your Blue Jays Alternative. Now, I will admit that many of the things that I espouse and that I talk about on the On Fek Circle and on the podcast too. I mean, Shaun and Karen keep me in check when I'm on the podcast, but this is my 30 minutes, so I can pretty much ramble and rant and rave about whatever, I guess. But the new hashtag is Your Blue Jays Alternative. There are a lot of shows out there. None rival any of the programs that we produce here on the YouTube channel or as the main podcast, the Jays from the Couch Radio podcast. Compared to all of the stations out there, and some of it's hokey, some of it's, they're trying to show how many stats they can remember and recite. I want you to think not outside the box. I want you to think about getting outside the box, walking around, checking out the Blue Jays landscape, and then reporting back to yourself and to us here on Jays from the Couch, whether it be on the podcast, on this show. It's not, I don't want it to be just another Blue Jay show. And you might see also on the screen next to my name, Steve Fek, the title Shadow GM. That's why the fancy duds, sport coat, the dress shirt. I am accepting the appointment as Shadow GM of the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, for those of you that are involved or at least follow politics, I mean, I'm here in the States. They don't have shadow ministers. They just have people that yell and scream and go on cable news programs. But in the UK and in parliamentary systems, like in Canada or Australia or New Zealand, they have what they call shadow ministers. They are the opposition voice. They're also the minority voice. And I'm under no delusion that some of the things that I might put out there would connect or resonate with the majority of Blue Jay fans. I think baseball fans in general, yeah. But I mean, I would be the voice of the minority. In fact, in the Canadian Parliament, the shadow ministers are people that are assigned by the minority political parties are called opponent critic. I don't want this to be just strictly me being a critic of everything. It seems that's what I do from week to week, but it's not really the position I want to take. I want to be able to throw things out there that might be in direct opposition to what the current manager or the current front office is verbalizing, is talking about, is putting into action. So every week to start off the show, I, as the new Shadow GM, and to make sure that I was ready and up for accepting this position, I have grown the pseudo Ross Atkins scraggly beard, the beard that Ross seems to think he, I guess, makes him look smarter in the offseason. I'm not sure why he grows it. I grew it because I'm just too lazy, but have that. I've got the sports coat with the open collar, sort of like the 70s game show, dating game, missing button, kind of a look that Ross also seems to sport in his interviews and especially, during meetings and interviews in the off season. I want to look the part as well as sound the part. And I want to be your voice. So if you have ideas during the live broadcast, by all means, please post them up there. Shaun Doyle, our editor and founder, is always behind the scenes. As the comments come in, he puts them up on the screen for me to take a look at. But we can't just, the Blue Jays are to the point now, it's at a critical stage. We can't just go along and say, well, it's part of the process. 2019, 18, 19, that was part of the process. 2020, okay, yes, they made an expanded playoff field, but they really weren't quite there. They were making, still tinkering with the roster. That was part of the process. Last year, the process failed Blue Jays fans because they waited a little bit too long to admit that they didn't have all of the pieces, all the ammunition they needed to make the playoffs in 2021. They finished a game short. If they had acted a little bit quicker as far as stabilizing the bullpen, perhaps that one game deficit wouldn't have been there. They had a Pythagorean win-loss percentage. They had a win of 99 based on how well their offensive performed and overall how the pitching staff performed. They should have won 99 games, not 91, 99. So something was amiss. The Blue Jays have, in a lot of ways, put all their chips in. They're in it to win it. And I would venture to say they're in it to at least go to the ALCS, not just make the playoffs. And with another couple of moves, they're in it to win the American League pennant. That doesn't mean that what they're doing and how they do it is right. So that's why Steve Fek, Shadow GM, will be here every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern time on our YouTube channel. You can catch it on Facebook and Twitter as well, to give the opposition, to give you other things sort of to look at as far as where the Blue Jays need to be. Minority voice, I accept that. And if you're wondering who appointed me, well, I'm the guy that has all these billable hours doing research and things to do a show every week. And I have all this expensive equipment. So I guess in essence, I kind of bought my appointment to Shadow GM. If you want to invest in all this equipment and spend all this time researching, by all means, you can do a show and call yourself the Shadow GM yourself. There's more than one political party in any country. So you can be a third party Shadow GM. That's fine. I'm not going to sue you for copyright infringement or for stealing my idea. We here at Jays from the Couch are used to other sites stealing our ideas. So it's not going to be anything different. But that's why I, Steve Fek of Pittsburgh, PA, not even a Canadian family roots, yes, but not a Canadian citizen, I am assuming the Shadow GM role for the rest of this 2022 season. The first thing I want to throw out there is, in a way, I want to sort of praise a lineup. And again, we all know that because the Jays are such an analytical organization, many of the lineup decisions and pitching, setting up pitching rotations and when to use relievers, that's coming down from the front office. It hasn't been that long since the 2020 playoffs when we couldn't figure out what the heck Charlie Montoya was doing. And it was very obvious that how he was going to use certain pitchers was coming down from the front office. But I like the lineup with Kevin Biggio at first base and Vladdy Guerrero as the DH. It hasn't been an everyday lineup, but we've seen it pretty regularly. I think it needs to be against right-hand pitching. That should be the lineup. Kevin Biggio, a good, versatile infielder, can man first base. He's a left-handed bat, bat him a little bit lower in the lineup, which we'll touch on here in a little bit. Lengthen the lineup a bit. And Vladdy can DH. And when he's not DHing, Steve Fek, Shadow GM, continues to shout from the wilderness. Vladdy can rotate into the outfield rotation. Why is that important? Well, first base is a danger zone, and you don't want your best, most talented player in the line of fire if you can avoid it. You can argue, well, you know, he doesn't know how to run routes, or he could run into the wall. That's true. You run into a wall, maybe you get a bruise, maybe you get a shoulder separation. That'll heal. If you have to reach across the base path and a base runner runs into your elbow and tears a UCL, like what happened to Matt Muncy, or, you know, breaks your elbow or breaks your wrist, like what happened to Cliff Floyd when he was with the Expos in the early parts of his career, it'll set back a couple of years. It takes about a year and a half, 2 years to come back from a serious elbow or wrist injury to be really fully healed. Do you want that hanging over the Blue Jays lineup? No, you really don't. Against left-hand pitchers, Vladdy's the everyday first baseman. That frees up the DH slot. Well, you're certainly not going to slot Alejandro Kirk in there now because he's going to be your everyday catcher, at least until Danny Jansen's broken hand heals. You also can then rest position players, rotate them through each of the starting outfielders. The other thing that having that kind of a setup, especially against right-handers, you're going to face more right-handers than you're going to face left-handers. It offers an awful lot of flexibility late in the game. If your team's way ahead or way behind, you can bring in defensive replacements at various positions. If Espinal has a day off, you can bring him in. If Vladdy is already DHing, you could put him at first. You could put him in the outfield. You can have Biggio bounce around. Espinal can bounce around. So if you're way ahead, like 4 runs or more ahead, or if you're really getting your brain speed in, you're just having one of those nights. Chapman can play maybe the first 6 or 7 innings. He can sit down, slide Espinal over. Biggio, if he's at first, you can slide him to second. Vladdy, who's at DH, can go first. You can bring in one of your defensive specialists, Tapia or Bradley Zimmer. Let them rest Springer, Teoscar, even Lourdes. You can rest them. So it offers that really interesting set of possibilities for Charlie Montoyo in game. The other thing I like about Biggio being an everyday player is you could bat him a little bit lower in the lineup. And his propensity to get on base means that he could be on base when you go back to the top of the order and you've got Springer and Bo and Vladdy and even Teoscar if you're having a really, really big inning. I also like where Lourdes has been batting 8th. I really, so against left-handers, I think you'll see Lourdes under the scenario that we're proposing here as the shadow front office for the Blue Jays. Lourdes, I like production at the bottom of the order. With Lourdes and when Danny Jansen is healthy, even Alejandro Kirk, yes, you can think about putting those bats higher in the lineup. But I really like productive bats at the bottom of the lineup. You don't want to give a pitcher an inning off or even a half inning off. You want him to have to work for every out. So that is what the opposition critic, the opposition government, the shadow GM is proposing for this week. If there's a topic you want me to tackle going forward, please do put it up during the live show, or if you're watching this, in the archives. I check for comments on a regular basis. Put your comment there. I will get back to you. Or you can send me an email, fecklesswonder@jaysfromthecouch.com. I love to keep the conversation going throughout the week. I mean, in this little 30-minute show, it's a lot of fun to have conversations, but it shouldn't have to end on Tuesday. It can be a 7-day-a-week conversation, and hopefully you will take up that opportunity. Our closing segment every week is always a Blue Jays bedtime story. And sometimes, I wax poetic and try to be clever. Right? Other times I just talk about historical moments. Now, on Sunday, the 5th, it marked the official baseball opening of the Sky Dome, which, of course, we all know now as the Rogers Center, though many, many people still call it either the Dome or still call it the Sky Dome. Rogers, billions of dollars, they've earned the right to name it after themselves if they want to. I'm not really totally against that. It isn't like Sky Dome had some kind of historical connotation in Toronto or Ontario or even in Canada at large. And baseball stadiums change names, all the time. I've lost track of what AT&T Park or whatever it's called now in San Francisco. It's constantly changing names. The stadium up in Milwaukee has gone through several name changes. It's really rare that you see a stable name. Okay, it'd be Fenway Park in Boston, Yankee Stadium, Wrigley Field. Okay, all those stadiums kind of keep their name. And then, like in Pittsburgh, PNC Park, Pittsburgh National Corporation, that'll probably stay the same. Citizens Bank Park in Philly, they have a headquarters there. I can imagine that would stay the same. Target Field. There are some things that may stay the same, but I never really was upset by calling it the Rogers Center. I still call it the Sky Dome. Billy Graves, the kid, he's got several programs on Slasher Sports. You need to check him out. He, Krishna Rao, the Rao Report, Wowie and the Kid is a Monday morning program. Great content there. They're not Jays from the couch, but you guys are just kind of kickstarting this. You might be, I would say you're going to be a contender, but I really appreciate you checking in, and always you and Christian always sharing our programs, giving the feedback there. Back to the Sky Dome. So 33 years ago, Sunday, the 5th of June, you're the best, Steve. Wow, we need to freeze frame that. I might need to take out ads or billboards. As far as getting comments like that, most of the comments I get, certainly off the air, generally deal with my parentage or certain anatomical things that I know that I cannot perform. So I really appreciate the kind words there, Graves. That's terrific. They won the first game against the Brewers. It was the Sky Dome was the first North American stadium. I'm sorry, not the first. It was the last North American stadium, that was built to accommodate baseball and football or other sports. The Argonauts were there, I think, through 1995. They played their home games. The Toronto Raptors, the first 4 seasons that they played at the Sky Dome. That wasn't, and I was at one game there. There was a lot of obstructed view seats for basketball, not for football or baseball, but for basketball. And you were so far away from the court, really. Basically, people were watching the game on the big video board. So if you're going to watch it on a screen, fans are going to tend to not pay for their seat. In the first year or so, there's that curiosity factor, and you want to support, your expansion team. Now you got basketball in Toronto. Okay, that was true. But over time, they stayed there probably a season or more longer than they had intended, because Scotiabank Arena was under construction and wasn't finished yet. So the Raptors played there. There's been all kind of concerts and everything there. Believe it or not, it was the first motorized retractable roof in any of the North American major sports. And that set a precedent that to this day, cities strive for. I mean, it's really expensive to build that. You know, like they have in Miami and Arizona. Miami, it's because of the rain and humidity. You don't know when it's going to rain in Miami and South Florida. Hurricanes, tropical systems. Arizona, the heat is just so oppressive. You want it to be closed and be air conditioned. In Milwaukee, you have the winter weather. So, you know, but again, they can open it up if they need to. It was a big deal to have this motorized retractable roof. And the historical event that occurred on this day, June 7th, 1989, 33 years ago this evening, is the main part of the bedtime story, because it was the first professional sport to start with the roof closed in an enclosed building and finish the game with the roof open. At 8:48 p.m. Eastern Time on June 7th, 1989, the threat of storms subsided, and for the first time, Toronto Blue Jay fans were able to experience the Sky Dome, Rogers Center, with the roof open. That had never occurred at any time in North American sports. I'm trying to remember. I want to say that the stadium in Munich, Germany, may have been the first to do that. And actually, Olympic Stadium in Montreal was originally supposed to have a retractable roof, but because of cost overruns, and when Parti Québécois took control of the provincial government, they weren't going to spend money that really the province didn't have to have a retractable roof for an Olympic stadium that they thought, you know, maybe might not be used again other than for occasional baseball games. And in fact, the idea for the Sky Dome came from the competition between Montreal and Toronto for the 1972 Olympics. I mean, they were the finalists, and Toronto's plans included the construction of a retractable dome stadium, not only for opening and closing events, but for other Olympic events to be held in. And it would be, you know, like a ninth wonder of the world. Since the Astrodome was the eighth wonder of the world, it would be the ninth wonder of the world to have this retractable dome in the world's athletic showcase, the Olympics, being showcased during the Olympics. So it would have been interesting to see, you know, how that would have affected even Toronto getting a major league franchise before they did. You know, again, they almost got the Giants in 1976 before they got the expansion team. But other teams that were looking around, certainly, I guarantee you, Charlie Finley would have been looking at moving the A's there when they were looking to bounce around. The White Sox, when Bill Fek, even before he bought the White Sox, there was talk of him trying to move the team to Toronto. So, interesting thing. So a little bit of a tidbit on this evening's bedtime story. Hopefully I didn't put you to sleep, but hopefully it relaxed you enough that dreams of being at Rogers Center for a playoff game in 2022 will easily come to you. We're almost out of time here. As always, thank you for tuning in. On Fek Circle is here every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Karen Suter will be back with Sunny Side of the Dome Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on the YouTube channel, Facebook page, And you can even catch it live during on Twitter at Jays from Couch. And of course, episode number 300. 300 makes you a Hall of Fame hitter. It makes you a Hall of Fame pitcher. If you've got 300 wins or a lifetime 300 average, you're a Hall of Famer. Jays from the Couch radio podcast is about to qualify itself as a Hall of Fame baseball podcast. So make sure you tune into that Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Check me on the podcast. 300. I might even wear a tie for the 300th podcast. It was a blast. Thank you again for all of your support last week, or our special show, raising awareness and funds for ALS through the JFtC ALS campaign. We'll be back next week. You take care.